Hi guys, welcome to my second video, and today I'm going to be showing you how you can overclock your CPU. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm using my phone to capture all of this right now because I'm not planning to get a capture card anytime soon, and as you know, you can't just record your screen in a BIOS condition without a capture card. So yeah, this is going to be the quality today. So hope you guys don't mind about that, and let's get started. But before you can start overclocking your CPU, you need to make sure a few things. First of all is that your CPU is unlocked, which means that it supports overclocking. On the Intel side, this can usually be seen via this K in the product's number. And over on the AMD side, there should be an unlocked in the AMD official website on the CPU. So if it's yes, then you're good to go. After you made sure that, you need to also make sure that your motherboard supports overclocking. Intel's Z series motherboards support overclocking, while AMD's B and X series motherboards also do. Note that AMD's A series motherboards are not supportive of overclocking, and nor is anything on Intel's side that's not a Z something something. Once we have that sorted out, we can start looking at some more specific things to overclocking. Now, you'll want to notice that there's a TDP in every CPU's specifications. That is a measure of how much heat is going to output. Because you're overclocking, the heat that is actually going to output is going to be much more than the TDP listed on the website. So for example, my CPU is a Ryzen 5 3600 with a TDP of 65 watts, as you can see here. But we recommend buying a cooler of at least like 30 watts over its default TDP in order to overclock at all. So if you're using the stock cooler, it probably won't handle any overclocking at all. So you also need to make sure that your cooler is at least 30 watts over your CPU's default TDP. So now we're in the BIOS again. You can see that I'm using a B series motherboard from AMD, and my CPU is the Ryzen 5 3600 before, so that means my rig is capable of overclocking. So let's go to the OC Tweaker tab. Please note that some motherboard manufacturers call this by some other more confusing names, such as AI Tweaker. I don't know why they call it that, but whenever you see something like tweaker or overclocking or AI or something like that, that's the correct tab. And now we can go down to CPU frequency and voltage change it to manual, and you'll see these three settings pop out. First of all, there's the frequency. That would be the actual frequency that the CPU is going to be running on once you finished overclocking. And then there's the voltage, which is the amount of power that the CPU is going to consume. More voltage equals more heat output. So if you plan to go to a higher frequency, you need to adjust the voltage to a higher value, and you need to have the cooling that can handle this level of power. Then there's the SoC voltage. For the SoC voltage, it is recommended to just set it to 1.1 whenever you're doing overclocking. I did not care about this when I was first overclocking, and the result is whenever I overclock, I had to reset the BIOS in order to get in to the BIOS and get a post at all. So this is very important. Just set it to 1.1. I actually recommend going up by 200 megahertz every time. So that would be 3800. And down here, 1.25 maybe. And although if you want to do it line sective fashion and just crank it up like drastically to something like 4000, it's okay. But anyway, now let's move on to overclocking your RAM. Now that's fairly easy actually. You just crank it up one stage each, so next step would be 2733 for me, and just crank it up one step each and just return to the BIOS and change it back if something bad happens during a benchmark. Now I've actually already experimented. My RAM stick, despite being a DR4 2666 module, can actually handle DR4 3000 and nothing more than that. So that's what we're going to go for. And now the overclock is complete. We can save, exit setup, and hope for the best. Okay, we're posting. We're posting. Oh, and by the way, yeah, I did change this startup logos, and I think I will have a tutorial coming up on how to do this. So now we're back in system, and let's check out our overclocking. Now, first of all, you can fire up Task Manager and go to Performance. Note that this speed is always going to be a touch lower than the speed you actually set it to, and that's because I'm not sure it's going to be always a touch lower, but this can be within some range of the speed you actually set it to, because the actual base speed is like 99 megahertz on this machine, and we're setting it to 38 times that speed. So there's always going to be some loss of speed, but that shouldn't matter that much. Now let's fire up a Cinebench and see if it works. And I think it's going to do. Okay, it's working at the very least. And boom, it's done. You can now see that we got 3327, which is actually lower than the non-overclocked version, and that is because my CPU has what's called Turbo Boost enabled, and in a multi-thread workload like this one, it's going to turbo up to 3.84 gigahertz in my memory, and of course 3.8 gigahertz and even lower than 3.8 gigahertz is not going to satisfy what is less than 3.84 gigahertz, and that means we're going to get a lower score. But let's just do another overclock and bring it all the way up to what I tested to be the maximum capability of this chip, and let's see how it does. Yeah. And now we're back in the BIOS. Let's go back to OT Tweaker and crank this frequency to 4000 megahertz. I tested that maximum on my chip, and this is 1.3 volts. They pair together nicely, and the RAM is still DR4 3000. And okay, this is actually the exact thing I was talking about just a moment ago. This is the maximum capability of my system. I don't know if it's because of the cooling or something else that I can't go to 4200, which is what's been tested by a lot of overclockers, but I'm pretty happy with this. Let's hit F10, exit setup, and hope for the best. Okay, so we're now back in system. Let's still check out our overclock. You can see that now is 3.99 gigahertz, which is basically 4 gigahertz. And let's fire up the Cinebench and see how it does. Now, as I said before, my CPU can boost up to 3.84 gigahertz in a multi-threaded workload. So, being at 3.99 megahertz, 3.99 gigahertz should have an improvement, theoretically, on the multi-threaded capabilities. Let's run it. And boom, we're at 3524, surpassing this Ryzen 7 1700X here, which is, I'm very happy to see. And also, by the way, if you don't overclock straight to your boost clock, in my case 4200 megahertz, you are going to lose single core performance but gain multi-core performance. So in my case, when I ran the single core, it was like slightly beneath this Core i7 7700K under here, like 473 or something, but in default, when I run it, I can get up to 480. So it's actually up to what you need. Multi-threaded performance or single-threaded performance. If you want multi-threaded performance, then overclock. If you want single-threaded performance, then you can still try overclocking, but if you don't overclock straight to your boost clock, you're going to lose single-core performance. So just decide what you want. And also, I want to mention that this tutorial is only intended for the AMD platform. For the Intel side, I don't know how things are because I haven't personally gotten an Intel CPU capable of overclocking or an Intel motherboard capable of overclocking. So I can't test the Intel side of things, but I expect it to be pretty similar, except for that SoC voltage, which I don't think Intel has. So yeah, if you're Intel, check out other overclocking guys. I'm not sure if everything I said is going to apply. And Intel's worse than AMD anyway, so switch to an AMD chip. Hey, yeah. So that's it for this video, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to have an upcoming tutorial on how to change your Windows boot logo, and that's gonna be fun, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that. And yeah, I think that pretty much covers the ending stuff, so thanks for watching. Goodbye.